So today we're heading to a place of absolutely stunning beauty and, well, shocking extremes. We're going high into the Himalayas to a village in Ladakh called Drass, and it holds a pretty intense title, the coldest inhabited place in all of India. Right, so how cold are we actually talking about here? Get ready for this. Back in 1995, the temperature in Drass dropped to an almost unbelievable minus 60 degrees Celsius. No, that is not a typo. That's the official record, which makes this the second coldest inhabited place on the entire planet. Okay, to really wrap your head around that number, just look at this comparison. Water freezes at 0, obviously. Your freezer at home is probably around -5. A big deep freezer, that hits -20. But on a regular day, when this source material was being put together, it was -28 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's cold enough to freeze the moisture from your breath right onto your face. Which brings us to the big question, right? This isn't some empty, frozen outpost. This is a real, living community of over 22,000 people. So how on earth do they do it? How do you live, work, and raise a family in a place that's colder than a deep freezer? Well, let's dive in. The first piece of the puzzle is a total mastery of their environment, and it all starts with how they build their homes. This is truly the art of staying warm. The traditional houses here are just brilliantly designed to trap every bit of heat. They're built with a mix of mud, concrete, and wood. But the real genius is the layout. See, to get into a main room, you have to go through a couple of doors and corridors first. Each one acts like a little airlock, stopping that frigid air from rushing in. All the windows are sealed shut for the winter, except, and this is clever, the ones facing south. Those get opened in the afternoon to soak up every last ray of sun. Even the floors have layers of insulation, like foam under a carpet, to stop the cold from creeping up from the frozen ground. Of course, even the best designed house needs a source of heat. In Drass, that source is the bukhari. This thing is literally the heart of every home. It's a simple, super efficient stove that burns wood and dried cow dung. It keeps the room warm, and it's also the cooktop where they make all their food and hot drinks, like their famous pink tea. The whole family gathers around it. It's everything. So their homes are warm. Check. But what about the other essentials? Now we're going to look at the daily hustle of getting water and food when the entire world outside is basically a block of ice. Think about this. Every river, every stream, every water pipe is frozen solid. So there's only one way to get water, a community hand pump. But even that has to be wrapped in foam to keep it from freezing. So residents have to pump water up from deep underground, and then it's a race against the clock. They have to rush it into storage tanks inside their homes before it turns to ice right in the bucket. Just a few seconds of exposure is all it takes. Okay, so that immediately makes you wonder, right? If water freezes that quickly, what in the world happens when you try to do your laundry? Well, the reality is, clothes hung outside don't really dry. They freeze. This quote just says it all. A wet sweater turns into a solid, stiff, snow-covered board almost instantly. It's such an incredible little window into what daily life is like there. You can see that survival here is all about preparation. That short summer is spent getting everything ready for the long winter ahead. Rooms are packed to the ceiling with wood and cow dung for the bukhari. They harvest and store barley, which is their main crop. Their livestock, cows, chickens, they're all brought right inside the house to keep them safe from the cold. And since regular plumbing is just impossible, they use dry toilets. It's a practical solution that also creates fertilizer for the next growing season. Nothing goes to waste. But you know, life in Drass is so much more than just a list of survival hacks. It's about community, it's about joy, and it's about this incredible sense of normalcy that's been forged in the most extreme conditions you can imagine. Yeah, life doesn't just hit pause for 8 months of winter. Kids still play, they still go to school, families still get together. They've just adapted their entire culture to the cold. And I love this comparison. Where kids in other parts of India might be playing cricket in the street, the kids in Drass, they're playing ice hockey. The frozen ground becomes their own natural rink. It's just a perfect example of how the environment doesn't stop life, it just shapes it in a different way. And then there's the human warmth, which is just in such stark contrast to the temperature. The person who wrote our source material was just outside taking pictures of some kids playing, and their family came out and insisted he come inside, not just for tea, but for a whole meal. When he tried to politely refuse, they just said, "We have just eaten." It's this incredible gesture of pure, unconditional hospitality. It's amazing.
So to really understand Drass, we have to look beyond just the day-to-day. We need to look at its soul, which is this mix of breathtaking beauty, a pretty somber history, and an absolutely unbreakable spirit.
The history here has really been shaped by both the climate and by conflict. We talked about that record cold in 1995, but a local story makes that number feel so much more real. Residents remember their livestock literally freezing to the walls of their shelters. And then, just 4 years after that, in 1999, this peaceful valley became a key battleground in the Kargil War.
Drass really is a land of contrasts. On one hand, you have this enchanting, almost magical scenery, like a waterfall that's been frozen in time. It looks like a sculpture. But then, to get to that beautiful spot, you might have to cross a crumbling, abandoned bridge with gaping holes just hidden by the snow. It's a constant reminder of the harsh reality that exists right alongside all that beauty.
And that brings us to what might be the most important takeaway from all of this. The people of Drass have proved to the world that surviving and being happy isn't just about having all the right facilities or avoiding hardship. It's about having the right attitude. It's about resilience, community, and pride.
And that leaves us with one final thought. I mean, if a community can find so much warmth, hospitality, and joy in one of the absolute harshest environments on Earth, what does that teach us about the challenges we face in our own lives? It's a pretty powerful lesson in perspective, isn't it?